Thanks, disembodied Zoom voice. Okay, round two.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Scouting Stuff. You've got two of us this evening, but not quite the usual cast of characters. Still got me, Scouter Ken. But at the other end of the internet, we have Scouter Paul from the Hudson Scouts. Hello.
You all right?
So we tried this once before, and the audio quality was really, really muddy because reasons. But we've got you on what seems to be a better microphone this time, so that's awesome. And if I'm really, really good about this, I'll get this cut and out the door in time for like tomorrow. But that's on me. That's my problem. So how you been?
Yeah, all good. All good. It's been a few weeks now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a hot month and a half, I guess, since, well, I mean, when did I get home? Yeah, about a month and 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Month and 20 days.
Yeah.
It's been a good long time.
Yeah. So, yeah, we come straight back from Candlestead.
Yeah.
So as soon as it finished, it was the next day we was home.
Yeah.
So
just loaded up in the truck and drove all the way, huh?
Yeah. Nice 15-hour drive.
Oof.
So,
I mean, I have done drives almost like that. Vancouver's 12, and you can do that in a straight shot, 1,200 kilometers. Yeah. So that's, with small kids, it's nice to have an overnight in there. But, I mean, sometimes dad's just like, no, we're leaving at 6 a.m. Get there for supper.
That was just from the camp. It was like, I need to leave at 10 just so I can get the right, because we went through the Eurotunnel. So it was a case of, I need to leave the campsite at 10 just so I've got enough time to make sure I'm at the tunnel.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. So
get to your, oh boy. Well, hang on. I think I can risk some video here, although I don't know. We'll see. I'm doing a lot on my network right now, so this might flake. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, well, cool. So anyways, so this episode kind of brings full circle, brings home something that we, that would have hit the Scouting Stuff Instagram and Facebook and Twitter kind of in the middle of our time at Kandersteg, which was a picture of what looked like paper boats or paper hats on fire with no further context given. So this episode is the one where we add context. And now, of course, yourself and maybe I think a few other people within the Hudson Scouts, and just to start us off again, just so we, kind of can frame this, your group is based out of where in England?
Okay, it's just outside of Birmingham, it's a little town called Sutton Coldfield. It hosted the 1957 World Scout Jamboree.
Brilliant.
So right by where we are is a huge park, basically surrounded by a housing estate. It's a huge park. It's the largest urban park in Europe. So it's a very huge park. It would take you a couple of hours to walk around the perimeter of it.
Nice.
So, yeah.
It's a good place for a jamboree.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. There's still signs of the jamboree there of how they landscaped the land around them while they were there. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, all right. And you're an Explorer Scouts unit, correct?
Yeah. So in the UK, Explorer Scouts are from 14 to 18-year-olds. So boys and girls.
Yes. Cool. So that's roughly equivalent to what we would call Venturer Scouts. 18, you're getting just into Rovers, but
yeah.
Cool. And of course, I met a number of them at the Jamboree at Canter 100. So that was great. And like I was mentioning, yourself, a couple of others in the group, I think are listeners already. And so, we'd kind of reached out, tried to get in touch, had some stickers for you. But you also invited us to take part in a rather riotously fun game. And not just us. I can't even remember who all the countries participating were. I think there was Moldova, maybe the Danes. I think there was
Danes. Germans, and another UK group.
Right. Okay. And so you described the game as, to me, as Battleship, and that's like what the little paper you had for it said. So how do we go from, let's play Battleship to I have a picture of origami boats on fire? Actually, maybe start with like how you came up with this thing, because that's a bit of a story in and of itself.
Yeah. So our scout group has got its own Instagram page, and I just follow as many different scout groups and scouters as possible on it, just to have a look at ideas. Just so I'm flicking through, and I'm like, oh, I like that idea, and then I'll screenshot it and make a note, as in like, let's try that one next term. So on one of the posts that I saw, they were doing origami, and then the following post after that, they had little cotton ball walls on a shovel and was trying to throw it the furthest. So I thought, how about integrating the two ideas into battleships? So that is how the idea came to us, by seeing two different posts following each other on Instagram.
Nice. And so with that framing, I mean, I loved, your description of the first time you ran the game, because I think it's like, it sort of captures perfectly like the build up and the intensity of it. Because I think at first you just introduced it as like, hey guys, we're just doing origami. No context on that.
Yeah. So I basically, I got 4 different colored sheets of paper, and then split the explorers into 4 groups and just said, I need you to make 20 boats of each colored sheet. So they're all in their teams and they're making the boats. They thought it was quite a boring evening just making the same boats over and over again. While they were doing that, I set up outside probably about a 2-3 meter square with rope around it, so they couldn't go in that area. And then I told them to take the paper boats outside and put them in that square anywhere. And then we gave each of them a shovel and a bag full of cotton wool balls and a flint and steel, and just said, you can light the flint and steel, light the cotton ball wall, the flint and steel, and then throw it on the spade and try and burn the opponent's ships. And whoever's got the most ships at the end wins. And they just clicked. They just absolutely loved it straight away. Being like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it turns it into a bit of a skills thing, right? Because ideally you want your scouts, certainly, like, I think actually that might be part of one of our badge streams is, the ability to spark a fire to light a fire in general, but then also, specifically with steel on top of that. So, good skills development there in terms of, hey, you got lots of practice with your flint and steel, which is sometimes an underused skill, but then, at the same time, it's like, now I have this flaming fireball. I'm going to fling it at that boat over there.
Yeah. Is in like, if one of them is in like, especially that age group where you're in like you're hoping that the scouts, so like the 10 and a half going up to 14, they've used the flint and steel and know how to do it, but then it's just making it the practice making it perfect. So is it like when you've got like 100 cotton balls that you're trying to light in a matter of a couple of minutes for the game, as in like they do get it down to a fine art, learning how to do it pretty quick and getting it going.
Yeah, well, and it's funny too, like reviewing some of the videos I took, right? Like you see, some of them like start to like fluff out the cotton ball a little bit. So there's like some loose strands that are more susceptible to the sparks and things like that. Or although there was the one group that really couldn't get the flint and steel. So once they had one on fire, they just kind of...
Yeah, I thought that was quite funny because that was the Danes, and they were all leaders. So it was the leaders that couldn't use the flint and steel. So it was that, I thought that was quite funny. Once they got one going, they were just lighting the other one with it and then like throwing that one really quick. And then, it was them that couldn't get it, where I did notice the other UK scout group that wasn't mine. They'd obviously used the flint and steel before because they were pretty good on it. And so were the Germans. The Germans were, I think they were all adults as well, but they were good on the flint and steel.
Yeah. And mine struggled a bit, and certainly my the ferrocerium core in the hilt of my knife there shows some wear and tear now, whereas before it didn't. But I think eventually, like, the Canadians had the most boats left, because that's how the winner is adjudicated, is like most boats standing, basically.
Yep. Yeah, most boats without any damage to them is the winner.
Yeah. My daughter actually kept the one boat, which it did have damage, but it like only just like this little like quarter-sized burn mark in the side, right? So it's just like, oh, well, that one took a hit, but it kept on, didn't actually burn up. So just like a real naval battle. Yeah. So, and I mean, that was the day of the big rain where, like, I know you had a lot of tents you had some tents that flooded. We had some that flooded, a bunch of others. There was a lot of very damp people the next morning. But it was good. It was good fun to break up what had been a fairly kind of day, because, like, it started off good, but it was definitely getting like just a tiny bit miserable by the time that, supper time had rolled around and passed. And it's like, okay, like this is getting old. This is a lot of rain.
Yeah. It did rain quite a bit there, didn't it? Is in that day was terrible because it did rain all afternoon, and then by the time when we was doing that game, it did come down pretty heavy, didn't it?
Mm,
And then it just didn't stop then.
no.
Uh,
Well, like I know I had damp tents. You had water running into a couple of your tents.
yeah,
Um,
all of our marquee was about 3 inches underwater, at least the whole of the marquee.
ugh.
And then we only had one sleeping tent that was flooded, but not totally damaged. Is in like it was sleep. You could sleep in it. It was just only half. You could sleep in that half and not the other half.
Right.
So, but the marquee the following day, it had all gone. It was just a whole afternoon and night that it was underwater.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, like we just left. I mean, my tent had dried by the next evening as well, but like, yeah, it
Yeah,
was just that was not a great night. And we got into a teeny bit of trouble from the Candersteg staff for because we had where you had because of course it was raining. So of course fire, rain, like they don't mix. So we were under one of
yeah,
the big open-sided pavilion tents. And then, we were like most of the way through the game when all of a sudden a couple of the volunteers showed up. I'm like, you can't have fire in here. Just like,
yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah. Thought that was quite funny when you're just like in tiny little bits of cotton wool that are landing in massive puddles of water on the floor.
yeah.
They can't light anything. But yeah,
Oh,
so yeah, we almost finished the game then anyway, hadn't we? So it wasn't like they spoilt it too much.
no, it was fairly clear that, like some teams had lost more boats than others at that point. So it
Yeah,
was all right to call it, but it's like, oh, it's all fun and
yeah,
games till the cops show up. Oh dear.
yeah.
But
Uh,
yes, so that was, so anyway, I've already like been shopping the idea around to my scouts especially, and also the venturers,
yeah,
because again, like from a skills development standpoint, it's really quite good. Flint and steel is not something that I know that I don't in my program focus on enough, and so having this one night where it's just intense flint and steel usage, you do I mean, you hope after a while that you do start to sort of develop a strategy, like you say, of well, what makes this thing actually light better?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's all about how they actually hold the flint and steel as well, isn't it? As in, like they just think if they just keep going up and down, it'll light it eventually. And it's sort of like, no, you can get it in just one try if you do it this way. And as soon as you've shown them the right way,
yep.
as in like they're just like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, stop. As in, you just listen to your leaders.
Yeah. Just follow the advice.
Yeah.
We're here to help you. But well, anyways, so I mean, that's the very simple description of it. You started out with the origami boats, you set up your play
Yeah,
space, and you did explain to me that there was like an alternate version where like everybody can have their navies like in their own quadrant. But we
yeah,
definitely opted for the everybody's boats are just in a
everywhere.
big mix-up, which I think probably makes it more challenging. And
Yeah,
so then, yeah, everybody gets their little garden spade and you just plop a cotton ball on the garden spade and you have flint and steel to light that and fling it at a boat. And it's riotously good fun. I know my two scouts are still talking about it. They're very anxious to show, my oldest is in her venturer company now. She definitely wants to do something around that. The younger one wants to definitely do it with her scout troop. The scouters like the sound of it because we're trying to do a little bit more of a outdoor, scoutcraft focused program this year. So we really
yeah,
do want to be able to, have activities that force the issue on things like fire starting and one match starting and flint and steel starting and things like that, among other things, of course. So this will be, I think, a great exercise in addition to just being, again, a rip roaring good time.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what makes it a bit different because it's like you say when we introduced it, is in like they all thought it was quite boring to start with,
Mhm.
just doing the origami, and then it was like, oh no, okay, we are actually doing something fun. Is it like you're not?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not being that boring leader this week. You are actually, you are actually doing something really good with it.
Yeah.
So
I'm tricking you into thinking I'm being the boring leader, but really I'm
yeah,
not.
yeah,
So, well, cool. Okay, well, so yeah. Well, first off, thank you for the rescheduled recording because
yeah.
this is definitely going to work out better from an audio standpoint. But also thank you again
Good.
for introducing me to this game because
Yeah,
yes, I know I'll be using it again. And I know that I can't like, rely on it too much, once or twice a year, probably.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But still, I do think it's going to be hilariously good fun for the scouts to do. And I mean, anybody out there listening, like if you were looking for an excuse to get your kids more familiar with the flint and steel firelighting technique, and also like the use of cotton balls, because they are a really good, or dryer lint too, but like the cotton balls are a bit more throwable.
Yeah.
They are sort of a natural pairing with the flint and steel. You can try and light other stuff with flint and steel and it works, but cotton balls they are just sublime for that sort of fire starting. So anyways, yeah, if your youth did need some practice with that, if you wanted to focus on that particular area of the Scoutcraft skills, like this is a great way to do that, and also to have a ton of fun, which I think will probably help with the retention a little bit more anyways, versus just practice your flint over and over and over. No. So awesome. Well, a very short episode, but thank you so much for again making the time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you out there for listening, and until next time, be prepared.